So the first point is be specific about your tasks. Now, my old to-do list used to look like this. So for example, underneath the to-do YouTube, you have to firstly understand what is sustainable for you. Now, I feel that out in this world, there are so many people who preach that you have to do certain things in business. For example, you have to post 15 to 60 posts each month if you want to get traction to your marketing much longer than anticipated, because this is all very new for me. But I know in the future, I'm going to get better at this, and then I can align my day more realistically to what I think I can achieve. The next part of this is obsess over quality. So this is a day in my life as someone who's in my slow productivity era with a business that generates over 6 figures of revenue. So what is slow productivity? It's a philosophy for organizing knowledge work, so aka someone like me who's an entrepreneur using their brain quite a lot, efforts in a sustainable and meaningful manner based on the following 3 principles. First is do fewer things. Second is work at a natural pace, and 3 is obsess over quality. This philosophy has been brought to life by Cal Newport, who is the author of Deep Work and Digital Minimalism. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how I instill these 3 principles into my day-to-day so that I'm not feeling rushed, so that I'm not feeling stressed, and so that by the end of the workday, I'm not feeling frustrated with the amount that I haven't been able to achieve. Instead, since I've actually implemented slow productivity, I feel like my life has become a lot more enriched. My quality of work has also improved as well, which makes me feel more proud of the work that I'm creating. And I'm also no longer feeling like I'm rushing against the clock, which used to leave me feeling extremely exhausted and burnt out and just overwhelmed when it came to my business. Now let's talk about do fewer things. And I'm going to share with you the things I've implemented under this principle that have really helped me. So the first point is be specific about your tasks. Now my old to-do list used to look like this. So for example, underneath the to-do YouTube, if you actually open it, you can see that I've got heaps of other to-dos within this actual to-do. So these were all the scripts that I had that was either starting to research or starting to write up, or I was even starting to film. And so because I had so many mini tasks within this one big task, it meant that typically, even though this was a to-do, it would take me days and even weeks to actually complete. And how that left me feeling was that I always felt overwhelmed because there was just so much to do and it just felt like it was never ending. I was really bad at gauging how much time these tasks would actually take me because there were so many little tasks within this big main to-do. And so what I do now is I actually use this app called Sunsama. And by the way, this is not sponsored by Sunsama, although if you are Sunsama, please feel free to knock on my door. So what I do now is I actually break down each individual task into their own card. So you can see here, rather than having what I had here, which is YouTube, and then having a bunch of stuff underneath it, I actually have just YouTube, and I've written down slow productivity filming. So this is the one thing I'm doing at this point in time. And so by breaking down my day into each individual task itself, this is what is represented in the rest of the cards for today. I actually have a better understanding of what I can actually accomplish in a day. It's a lot more manageable because it's just the one task that represents one card, rather than something like this, which can feel super overwhelming. Now, as I started creating one task per card, I realized that as you're actually doing one task, sometimes new tasks can come up. So for example, what I might realize after this YouTube filming is that I might upload the YouTube video so that my video editor can get started with it. Now, what I used to do back here is I just sort of lump it in, and then it would mean that my YouTube filming session would get expanded out to actually uploading the video to the video editor. And so suddenly what I had actually scheduled for say 1 hour of my time ends up being an hour and a half, and I would lose track and wonder why at the end of the day I had actually ended up spending more time at my desk than I had intended. So what I do is I now actually add a new card for this one specific task. And how this helps me is that I either can choose to do it today, or I can actually push this to another day when I deem it to be important. At this point in time, we want to focus on doing fewer things, and I'll share more about this in the next bullet point. But this really helps me identify when a task has actually been blown up, and when it actually does blow up, whether or not I should choose to do that task or not right then and there. So my tip here is that as new tasks come up, create a separate card for them so you recognize that you're actually doing more than what you originally set out to do that day. Now, the next part is for you to have constraints. So select only 1 to 3 main to-dos for the day. And I really love this quote from Cal Newport. In the currency of time, every decision we make involves a sacrifice. Whether it's choosing to spend time with loved ones over working late, pursuing our passions instead of succumbing to distractions, or investing in personal growth rather than staying in our comfort zones, each choice comes with its own trade-offs. The key is to make these sacrifices intentionally, recognizing that every moment spent is a choice, and every choice shapes the story of our lives. So taking on board this quote, what I've had to really get comfortable with is actually saying no to opportunities in the short term. So for example, I often get emails with people who are interested in doing affiliate marketing with me or even doing sponsorships with me. But for me, I know that I need to focus on just a few things so that I'm not spread too thin and starting to get overwhelmed. And so for me at the moment, my focuses are one-on-one coaching, which is what I do with a very selective number of clients who I love working with to help them start and scale their tutoring businesses. And secondly, it's my Master Your Tutoring Game Plan signature program. So this is my program for tutors who are looking to get their first paid clients. Now, I've only focused on these two main things in my business over the past year, and I can say confidently now that I'm so happy to have actually eliminated all the distractions and focus on these two core drivers of my business, because my business has grown almost double the size. So what I do each day is actually go through my to-do list and I cross-check it with my priorities and see if they actually align. So me filming YouTube is, yes, it does align, because when I film YouTube videos, this is what helps me generate leads for my business, which either go into my two services that I've been focusing on. Now, the next part of today is I have a meeting with a consultant who is going to help me basically create a better customer experience for my clients, which I think is really important, because if they can have a good customer experience, then that's what creates raving fans who then start referring you to other people. So that is also a tick. Now, emails is something that I don't necessarily prioritize. In fact, if this is something I have time for today, I will do it. I'm going to put it all the way at the very bottom. But if it's not, then I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave it for another day. Typically, I'll only check emails about twice a week, but I've been checking emails more often because I've been delegating more work to my assistant and she might need my help. And a lot of the work that I'm delegating to her is the work that's related to those two services that I've been talking about. Later in the day, I'll be doing TikTok videos, which again help generate leads. And then I will have my one-on-one coaching with one of my clients, Antonio, in the afternoon. After that, I'll be checking Slack and replying to any of my other one-on-one clients who can reach out to me anytime over the week. And then that's basically it. So I've already ticked off a couple of things for the day. I'd already planned for today's cards, which was actually putting in my individual to-dos into separate cards and then also cross-checking to see whether or not the to-dos actually match my overall priorities. And I prepared for YouTube. So I put my makeup on, I set up this place, I set up my camera, my microphone, and I'm ready to go. And I also went for a run this morning. Now with Sunsama, you can put in personal if you wanted to. So under manage channels, you can actually have a section where you can have personal. This was actually here by default, and you can put in a run like I did this morning, except that I personally don't like having my personal stuff inside with my work. I know some people do. Josh, my partner, he does that, and that's how he manages his day-to-day life. But for me, I don't mind having my personal stuff just outside of Sunsama. That's also just a fun fact about the software as well. By the way, if you like these concepts of slow productivity that I'm sharing today and how I've been able to embed it into my own life, I do talk more about this in my weekly newsletter designed for business owners, especially if you are a tutor. So if you wanted to go there and read more of my weekly emails and discoveries on slow productivity, then please go and sign up over there. So the second philosophy is work at a natural pace. You have to firstly understand what is sustainable for you. Now, I feel that out in this world, there are so many people who preach that you have to do certain things in business. For example, you have to post 15 to 60 posts each month if you want to get traction to your marketing. For me, if I were to do 60 posts each month, I would be on the couch and I would be not doing anything at all because I would be so damn burnt out. That to me is not sustainable, and even listening to it, to be honest, stresses me out right now. Instead, I think it's really important that you figure out for yourself what actually makes sense. What's sustainable is not pumping out lots and lots of content every single day, but in fact, bulk sessions of filming. For example, when I sit down to do filming for YouTube, I will usually film about 5 videos in the space of 1 to 2 weeks. And those 5 videos then come out drip fed onto the channel over the course of the following months. That is what personally feels really good to me. And so I would really encourage you to think about what feels good to you, because ultimately what feels good to you is what's going to be sustainable for you. Another example is that in my industry, people say you need to be posting on Instagram every single day. I posted on Instagram every single day for about 6 months and I absolutely hated it. I didn't enjoy the fact that posting your stories took me about an hour each day. I was just really slow at it and I just didn't feel like I got much traction from it. And so rather than posting once a day, which is the industry norm, I now just post whenever I want, because otherwise I've been focusing on doing fewer things because I've been more laser focused in the areas that I have been trying to build my business. My business hasn't suffered because I haven't been posting on Instagram every single day. So again, that's what's most sustainable for me. And it's been a bit shocking, to be honest. So I was a consistent poster on TikTok for about 2 years. And it got to a point in TikTok where I felt lost. I felt like I no longer had a clear goal when it came to my TikTok videos. I felt like I was really attached to the vanity metrics. My first video ever got over 300,000 views. And so that really skewed my perception of what normal viewerage should actually be and what I was trying to strive towards. And so when I did have videos that flopped, then I got really disappointed in myself. And so I need to actually take time away. Now, taking time away from your social media as a content creator is so scary because you know that people are always preaching that if you're not consistent, then the algorithm won't like you. Or if you're not consistent, then all your followers will leave you and all of that. But what I actually found was that by looking after myself first and allow myself that time to think through that process was incredible, because now I've come back to TikTok and I am feeling just so much more reinvigorated and I've got direction now. And if anything, interestingly, my follower count pretty much stayed the same. And my first video back actually had the same amount of engagement that a lot of my previous videos have had. I was honestly shocked. I thought that my following count would drop significantly, but it hasn't. And the repercussions were nowhere near as bad as I thought. Now, the next part of slow productivity is introducing high and low seasons in your business. And this one is my absolute favorite. And essentially in Cal Newport's Slow Productivity book, he talks about how way back in the day when we were cavemen, we would have high and low periods of the day. And that was just normal. So you'd have your high periods of the day, which were high intensity, high energy. And that was when the men would go out and hunt the animals so that there was actually food for dinner and lunch. And so that high period was there. But then afterwards in the afternoon, they would just go back to camp and just sleep and enjoy the sun and just enjoy time with their families. And so how modern society has changed is that now we're constantly in high seasons. We're constantly on the go. It's a constant 9 to 5 with only 4 weeks break for most people. But typically that's just not enough. And if you are somebody who's doing a 9 to 5, typically that 9 to 5 bleeds out overtime. And even after work, there's more things for you to do. There's errands, there's just constant go, go, go. And so what I've really enjoyed breathing into my business is this concept of high and low seasons. Instead of constantly pushing for growth and constantly just pushing for more and hustling, instead I've now got high seasons where it is that, okay, let's go for it, let's push. But I've also got low seasons as well, where it's time for us to actually take a back seat and focusing on the back end where I'm streamlining things in my business and getting it ready for that next stage of growth. So I see my business like this now, and it's how I've been doing it for the past year. And the fact that my business has grown from $140,000 to now over $220,000, I'm pretty happy with that. So right now I'm actually in a low season of my business, and I essentially think of it like spring cleaning. So this is what spring cleaning in my business looks like and what you can take into your own business as well. So spring cleaning, again, because it's the low season of business, it's that period of time where you're working on the back end of things and really starting to streamline things so that you can prepare for your next stage of growth. So for me right now, what this means is 1, training my team so that they're ready for the next stage of business growth. So writing up an invoicing SOP, delegating more tasks to my assistant so that when that time actually comes, she's prepared to do all the operations and I can be focused on doing more of the growth stuff. Next is hiring the right people for this next chapter of growth. So for example, I've just onboarded the customer success mentor. So who's the consultant I'll be working with in about half an hour's time. And I've onboarded her because I want her to help my client get the best results possible when they sign up to my programs. So she essentially helps me out with helping students complete the program, because sometimes people fall off and they drop off, and when they drop off, they're not able to get the results. So it's like, how can we actually help them get through the program with ease and without overwhelm? And how can we actually make the program fun for them? How can we introduce things like challenges and games to help them feel like they are held accountable and that they're a part of a community? After I filmed this YouTube video, I jumped straight into a meeting with Becky, my customer success consultant. We talked a lot about how to help the client once they finish the program, how to continue supporting them so they didn't feel like once the program ended, they were sort of just left to battle the business world all on their own. The next thing is reviewing my tech stack. So I recommend you do this once a year if you don't already, but it's essentially looking through all of the tech that you use in your business and basically shutting off the ones that no longer work for you, no longer serve you, perhaps implementing new tech that is going to be working for you, or migrating tech. So if something that has been working for you up until this date, but you know it's not going to be working for you in the future, actually finding a new software that's going to help you do so. For us, we had a Facebook community group and we closed that down because it just wasn't aligned to our business business goals anymore. I also looked through all the software that I use in my business and contemplated whether or not I still wanted to keep them. And good news is that I do, but I recognize that probably in a year's time, my perspective might actually change. But this I recommend doing because one thing I noticed was that I was actually paying for Zapier, and I accidentally was paying month to month as opposed to annual. And I use Zapier all the time. And so I was actually paying more money than I needed to because I was paying month to month rather than doing annual. So I switched that straight away, and automatically that's going to be saving me money. And finally, the next thing is low priority work that could be procrastinated forever, but just needs to be done. So for example, in my business Tutorboss, we have a lot of SOPs. And I knew that moving into this next stage of business, especially because I'm planning to hire more people into my team, I knew that I needed to clean up my SOPs to get it ready for these new hires. So what you're looking here is actually the new revised version of my SOPs and my dashboard. So I'd actually been putting this off for the longest time. I'm talking like 2-3 years because it just wasn't that important. But when you go into a low season of your business, it almost gives you permission to actually get out there and do the things that you've been procrastinating for a really long time, but you know are the nitty-gritties that do need to happen. Usually when you're focusing on the go and pushing, you're not going to be working on these things that do make a difference in your business, but could be procrastinated. So I'm really happy that I did that because now I know that when I onboard new people, I can just show them the new SOPs and it's going to be really streamlined and straightforward, which then saves us time. By the way, if you can hear some snacking, it's because my cat Miso is eating. Miso, say hi. Now, the last part of work at a natural pace is practice patience. So your girl is an impatient girly. When it comes to my business, I just want things now. I want things to happen now. And why isn't it happening right now? I think my impatience would often leave me finishing work feeling really frustrated because I never got as much done as I was hoping to have achieved. And I'm sure many of you can relate where we're overachievers. We want to do exceptionally. And so I realized that this just wasn't healthy for me. I would feel often so dissatisfied and disappointed in myself at the end of the workday, and that's just not how I want to live moving forward. And so one thing that has actually really helped me with this practicing patience is actually looking at these cards and predicting how much time each card is going to take. So Cal Newport actually recommends that you double the amount of time you think a task is going to take. We as humans are really bad at judging and predicting how long we think a task will actually take us. So what I did here was I thought that this YouTube video would take me half an hour to film. And so I doubled that and I've made it 1 hour. And you can see that I actually now am filming at 46 minutes long into this video. And so the past me would have been really frustrated because I went overtime and I'd be like, oh, just hurry up. And I feel like that energy really would have carried through into my videos and just any other tasks I would have been doing. So I'm just like rushing and just like trying to get things done. Whereas now, because I've given myself that grace and I know I still got time to actually do this, I actually feel so good. And I feel like we really undervalue the attitude that we bring to the things that we do day to day in our lives and into our business. And I think that now when I do anything in my business and I actually have that time on my side, I feel so much more at ease. I feel good about myself, which then really breathes into the work that I do. And I show up as the best version of myself rather than the version that's just like, okay, let's just get this done. Like, oh, Lisa, like, why can't you just say the sentence properly? And why do you have to keep repeating yourself? Why are your words coming out in a word salad? You know, like that all would have really frustrated me in the past. Whereas now I'm just like, la-di-da-di-da, like I'll just take my time and I'm having more fun as a result. So my recommendation here is to double the amount of time you think a task is going to take and then actually measure it so you can actually figure out for yourself how good you are at predicting how long a task will take you. Over time, you'll get better and better at predicting your task and how much time that will take you so that you become more realistic with your judgment. For me though, I'm still in the stage where I'm predicting and assessing and finding that things are actually taking me much longer than anticipated because this is all very new for me. But I know in the future, I'm going to get better at this and then I can align my day more realistically to what I think I can achieve. Now, the next part of this is obsess over quality. So you want to create work that you're actually proud of. And when things don't do well, that means that you're still proud that you did your absolute best. Past me used to rush everything. And because I rushed everything, I never put in 100% of everything I was capable of. So for example, if I publish a YouTube video and then it tanked, I would then be like, oh, you didn't even do your best, like you rushed it, of course it didn't do well. Like there were things to blame. Whereas now, because I'm actually taking my time with my task, I'm creating resources for my clients where I spend hours on them, and at the end I'm like, damn, that is a damn good resource. I'm so freaking proud of this. If I do then get any complaints about it, usually I don't get complaints, but let's just say if there are suggestions for improvement, I then no longer default to, oh, yeah, they're so right. Like I should have done better here. Like I could have done better. Instead, the mindset has shifted to one more of, you know what? I actually did my absolute best here. I'm proud of the work I did, but I appreciate the suggestion that has been made. This is something that I hadn't actually thought about before. So let me start contemplating it and see how I can improve my resource even more. So if you can relate to this, then I would absolutely encourage you to actually take more time to do higher quality work. So I encourage you to stop associating busyness with success and actually choose deep work instead. When you actually have big stretches of time where you can do deep work, where you can really just get into that task you're doing and not focus on the time, like, and just like rushing against a clock, but really just being immersed in what you're doing, forgetting about the time and just being in that motion of just working and thinking and producing your best output possible, I genuinely feel that you'll feel so much better about your work and you'll feel so much prouder about the things that you're actually putting out there into the world. Always have your phone on Do Not Disturb. To be honest, on my phone, I have Do Not Disturb all the way from 10 p.m. at nighttime all the way through to 6 p.m. the next day. So my working day, I do not get distracted because there are things that will distract me. You can see that someone's called me. Honestly, it's probably just like a telemarketer. So I'd much prefer not having those distractions. I also actually find, Josh actually showed me this, you can download something called Endel. So Endel basically plays a bit of music for you, and they've got focus mode, deep work mode, and it's just like a little bit of noise just to kind of help you really get into it. And I'm on the free version and I love it. I use it all the time when I'm trying to get into deep work. And as with everything that I've mentioned today, always track your time. You can't measure what you don't track. Now, it's not the end of my workday today, but what I might do is actually show you my workday yesterday. And with my workday yesterday, you can see that I actually spent a total of 3.5 hours working. I had planned 5.5 hours, and because I had over predicted and stretched out how long each task I thought was going to take, I actually ended up taking less, so 3.5 hours in total, which then leaves me actually feeling really good about myself. And I think that's the big message of this video. I think ultimately we start businesses because we want to have a great life. We want to experience a good life, and we didn't do this so that we could be even more stressed than our old 9-to-5. And for us to feel at the end of the day overwhelmed and frustrated and disappointed. But instead, when I look at this, I just get like a dopamine hit. I'm just so happy that I'd accomplished all the things I wanted to do and that I had actually accomplished it in quite a timely manner, and that I actually have time left over to go and do the things that I actually care about at the end of the day. For today, when I wrapped up work, Josh and I decided to get pizza for our favorite pizza joint. I love spending quality time with him. It is one of my greatest joys. We always carve out time for each other basically every single day. And afterwards, we spent time playing Catan, which is a new board game that we've been absolutely obsessed with. And Miso came to visit us as well. I'm trying to spend as much time as I can with Miso these days because we're moving to London soon and we'll actually be leaving her with Josh's parents. So I'm going to really miss her over the next couple of years while we're living abroad and spending a lot of time traveling. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Go ahead and comment down in the section below. What have you learned from this video? What's one takeaway that you're going to use in your own life so that you can start living in your own slow productivity era? And even if there's nothing you wanted to write, but you wanted to let me know, thank you for this video and that you've watched all the way until the very end, just write the words slow productivity because that will tell me that you've enjoyed this video and that I should make more videos like this. If you like this video, you might like my previous video where I talked about selling my old private tutoring business for multiple 6 figures, and it's been 1 year on, and what my experience and feelings are towards selling my business exactly 1 year on. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.